Hi, this is Alex Fairs from Addictivity. This is a screencast video to showcase sCMS, which is our own content management system we use to run all of our clients' websites. I want to give you a quick run through of how it works, but first, just a little bit of background. Addictivity was founded back in 1998, so we've been developing websites for nearly 20 years now. During this time, we've learned a lot about what our clients want and expect from these kinds of systems. Our whole philosophy on software development is based on simplicity. It stems back to when we first started working with a sporter. So a sporter was a big business. They had a chain of 55 health clubs across the UK. And when we won that account, we were tasked with designing and building a corporate site, but also a site for each of the 55 gyms across the country. They wanted the gyms to be responsible for their own content, and this included news and events and the standard kind of things, but also timetables for each of their studio classes. They said, we want this, we want it in 3 months, and it has to be really easy to use, because these guys are gym people and then they're not IT people. And there's no budget for training. So we delivered on that for them, but really and importantly for us here, it set the tone for sCMS and everything we think about when developing software. We designed sCMS to be easy to use out of the box. We do normally run a 30 or 40 minute training session for our clients during the development process of their specific project. We also supply a training document, and we supply screencast videos of exactly how to use the system. It works really well, as you can rewatch the training at any point. You can train new staff members easily, and if you forget or are worried about a specific detailed aspect of updating your site, you can check the videos. They're 4 to 5 minute screencasts of all the basic functions of updating your site. So adding a blog, approving a comment, adding a new user to the system, moving a page, adding an author bio, whatever it is, we've got them covered. So that's the background. Now I'm just going to show you some examples of sCMS in the real world. So we're going to start by looking at a website we developed for Cobalt Recruitment, who are obviously a recruitment consultancy. They're a global firm. The website is across 5 different regions and multiple languages. It's a typical job site in the fact that it lists live jobs that are searchable by location and categories and sectors and what have you. You can apply for jobs, you can log in, have an account, have an application history, you can have your CV up on there, all the standard sort of features that you would expect from a jobs website. Plus, apart from jobs, it has some content for the different sectors that Cobalt cover, information for candidates, be it CV advice, interview advice, testimonials, again for their clients, some information about them. They also have a news and blog system, which we'll look at, and a contact us page and information about working for them, which is more internal jobs. So it's a good sample site to have a look at. It covers a range of different content, all being run by sCMS. So to access the content management system, of course, you have to log in. It's a secure system. So here you can see I've got my email and my password already filled in. I go to log in, and if I'm logged in successfully, what will happen is I will be taken back to the home page. And the only difference now being logged in is I can see an arrow icon up here top left. If I hover over this, it gives me 2 options. One to go to sCMS itself, and the other is edit page. And this is quite a nice feature because you can browse around the site, and whatever page you're on, if you go up and have edit page, it will take you to the part of sCMS to edit the specific page that you were on. So for now, I'll click on sCMS. It takes us to the content management system interface. And what you can see here is the logo for sCMS. We can see I'm logged in. When I last logged in, I've got the option to log out. Then there's a little navigation option right at the top to go back to the main website. And then we have the main navigation here for the CMS. So We have access to the pages, we have access to settings, data and some content. So in this overview, I'll take you first to the pages section, and quite simply it lists the main pages of the website and it shows you the structure of the site as well. Now some websites like Cobalt can get very big and have hundreds if not thousands of pages. So this neatly shows the basic structure. So if I talk you through everything that we're looking at, we can see over here on the left there's a blue crosshair icon. If I actually hover over it, you can see my cursor changes. What this lets us do is drag and drop to reorder the pages on the site. Okay, I'm not going to do it now because it happens in real time. If I dragged candidates under clients, it happens in real time on the front end. After that, we can see here in the top instance with home, it lists the name of the page. If a page has any child pages, so for example sectors, we have this green and white expand icon. If I click that, obviously it expands to show the child pages. And then again, we can see here property, construction and engineering has the same icon, so I can expand that to see the pages within that section. And again, 4 levels deep. So it keeps things nice and neat when managing pages. Over here on the right hand side we can see 5 icons. So if I just explain what these are quickly, the first one is to view a page. So if we click this, it would show us the real page on the front end of the site. The second one is to edit a page. Fairly obvious. The third one is to add a page. Now you can see there's an add page button here at the bottom, a generic one, which is fine. But if you click on here, say in line with sectors, if I click on add page here, it will add a page to the website and it will be a child of the sectors page. Okay. Then the fourth icon is a useful tool which shows you the last 4 revisions of a page. If I click on this now, we'll get a pop-up and we can see 5th of April, the time, the 10th of March 2015. So this hasn't been updated since last year, this page. So it's got the last 4 revisions, and here we can view that page, or we can edit as a new revision. So this is useful for all manner of things. You might have a page with a specific offer on it, which is a timed offer, and then you want to revert back to a previous version of that page. Or you might make a mistake. One of the areas where people make mistakes in these kind of systems is often by pasting content from another application, and more specifically from Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word styles its pages using HTML, which is all hidden code. So unknown to you, the user, you write a blog post, say, in Word, you paste it into the CMS, and without realizing you're pasting in a load of hidden code. If that was going to happen, and you broke by accident the layout of the website, you could go back, go to the revisions, look at the last working version, edit it as a new revision here, and then save it, and you've just fixed the problem. There is a way around that whole pasting in from Word thing, which I'll show you later. But this is a nice feature of saving the last 4 versions of the page. Then lastly, the 5th icon we can see here is the delete button, which is here if you wanted to delete a page. You can see the delete option for the home page is greyed out, because if you deleted the home page of the site, everything breaks, so we don't let you do that. But if you do want to delete a page, we do give you an alert to make sure you're sure and it's not an accident. So now I'll show you actually editing some content. So if we look at the home page, quite often the home page is a special case on most websites because it has the most complex layout and different features. It's not usually a standard setup. But we'll see repeating patterns of how pages are edited. So I'll talk you through everything that we're looking at. At the top we can see label. Okay, this is what appears in the site navigation. It's called home. Sometimes we have a section for a headline or an H1 tag, which is managed here. In this case, it's not used. Then underneath this, we have a gallery of images. So if I just take you back to have a look at the front end of the website so we can see what we're looking at, we can see here there's a gallery of big background images. So these are all managed in the CMS. You can see them here. So if I wanted to add a new image to that gallery, I could click here and add an image. I have the option to add a title, a caption, which would be text over the top of it, a URL if I wanted it to be a link and actively link somewhere, and then I can select the image that I want to use. I could use one that's already in the file library, for example. We can see some images here, or I could upload a new one. Either way, if I just select that for argument's sake, and then an alt text, I have the option to put this in. And this is for best practice really for two reasons. Firstly, users that are accessing your website using a screen reader, they obviously can't see or might not be able to see the images of the website as well. They might be partially sighted, and a screen reader will read out the content of the site. When it gets to an image, if it doesn't have an alt text which describes that image, they just get told that there's an image. There's no other information. So we use alt text to describe the image for that reason. Also, it's an SEO best practice. So to have all of your alt tags and alt text in for all images, describing those images, is something that you need to do to tick the SEO box. So we can see that there are 4 of them in here. This up and down arrow lets me reorder them by dragging and dropping them. And then I can go in and I can edit one if I wanted to change the image, or I could delete it. Now this is probably something that Cobalt themselves don't change that often. I have the option here to just hide this section, so it makes this page a little neater. If I wanted to show it, I can. For now, we'll hide it. Then underneath we have something described as main lower, working for you, left column, right column. Let's just go and have a quick look at this. We can see here we've got featured jobs. This is obviously being pulled through from the job section. We have a call to action here for the blog. Then we have more calls to action for submitting your CV, looking to recruit. And then underneath here, whilst they're only using one column, they've got the ability to have 2 columns of text. And then underneath they've got clients and then the footer. So this bit is what we're looking at within sCMS here. Again, it's similar to how the gallery looks. We can see multiple items, an up and down arrow for reordering by drag and drop. We have the ability to edit, which gives us the working for you content. And what you can see here is what's called a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get, very much like Microsoft Word, for example, which lets you do standard features. And we can cover that in more detail a little bit later. The global clients, all the icons we looked at, are all manageable in here. Again, you're getting to see a repeated pattern here, a list of the logos, drag and droppable to reorder. You can edit, you can delete, you can add a new one. And again here, pop-up window, a title, a caption, a URL, the image itself, and of course the alt text. And then below that, what appears in the footer is we have a Twitter feed. So if we go and look at it on the front end, we can see here this Twitter feed. Now within sCMS we've got lots of different social integrations. For Twitter we have a few options. So you can see here they've got it to show any tweets that are from Cobalt Recruit. Now we can see underneath we've got a couple of tweets. We've got one about the FA Cup final, for example. This is updating every 10 minutes, or I can force it to update now. But I also have the option to add in other search queries. If you want to get a little bit more into nitty-gritty Twitter stuff, I could show not just tweets from my company, from Cobalt. I could show tweets where people are mentioning us. And all manner of other search queries that you can perform on Twitter can be replicated here within sCMS. So you can manipulate and edit your Twitter stream to show people talking about you, or to show you talking about people, or a mix of any different search queries. So it's quite a useful, powerful little social integration. Again, all of these have got the show hide option. It's something that you probably not use that often. Then at the bottom of the page we have Save Changes, self-explanatory. We have a Preview option and a View Page option. The difference here is if I click Preview and I've made changes, we get a lightbox pop-up show how the page would look, including the changes that I've just been making. I haven't made any, but you can actually see them here before you commit to making a save, which is quite useful. If you click on View Page, it shows you the page as it stands without any of your edits being made. One thing to mention, when you do press Save Changes, you get a little alert on the top right hand side of your browser window up here saying the save has been successful. Or if for any reason it hasn't been, it will give you an error message and it will tell you what's gone wrong. If, for example, there was a mandatory field that you hadn't filled out. So I'm going to go to another page now, a standard page. If we have a look on the website and go to sectors, we can see here, okay, we have a job search at the top. We have some calls to action over here on the right. We have testimonials and we have some content on the left. Then there's some other features which are global. So these client logos are a global feature. So we've just seen them appearing on the home page. They also appear on this page. So let's go and edit the sectors page and have a look. We can see again the label, what the page is called and how that appears in the site navigation. They're not using the headline, the on-page headline option here. They have an ability to edit the main background image. If we show this section, we can see here's the main image. And when we're looking at sections and big background images, you can have one set for every specific page, or you can set to inherit from parent. So you might have, for example, every page within sectors having the same image. So when you're getting down here, you would just set it to inherit the same image used as the parent page. You can see this one has its own specific image. We could select a new one, we could remove this, or we could change it to use no image. It's all controlled within here. I'm going to hide this background image section now just to keep things easy. Then we have the WYSIWYG, the editor. We have the text here set as heading 1. We have the rest of the text set as paragraph, and they've made some text bold. Again, all of these features here we cover off in more detail in the sCMS training videos, but it's all of the functionality you would expect from such an editor. One thing to point out, this paste from Word box. You reference back to what we were talking about earlier about sometimes people pasting in content from Word and it causing problems. This is the solution. You use this little feature, you paste in your content here and click Insert, and it strips out all of the hidden code that you didn't realize was there. So it's best practice to use that if you're pasting in content from Microsoft Word. And then at the bottom we can see global clients again and Twitter. These are the global elements which will appear across the site. So if I make an edit here to the client logos, so if I change the order, it doesn't just appear on this page, it's global. Every page that has these clients, it's being affected. So I can edit it here or on the home page or anywhere else. Now if I just talk you through what's happening over here on the right hand side, we have some page options. Now with our whole principle of keeping things simple, we really do try not to go to town on all of the different options that might be available. But for Cobalt, we are running an SEO campaign for them. So the whole reason of building this site for them was to improve their rankings, improve the quality of the code, to enable a successful digital marketing campaign. So they need the ability to run specific SEO features. So we'll get into those. At the top, we have page options, and these are fairly standard. So include in site navigation is ticked because the sectors page wants to be in that top navigation. There are instances when you might not want that to happen. If you were working on a landing page as part of a paid campaign, for example, with AdWords, and you didn't want it to be visitable by users just browsing through the site. You also have the option to include it in the sitemap or not. The next one, including a breadcrumb. You probably know the Hansel and Gretel story. Website breadcrumbs are the same. You leave a trail to find your way back. If you're navigating 2, 3 or 4 levels deep in a site, you'll have a breadcrumb trail which shows where you are in the site, so you can easily get back. And then we have the option of, is this page active or not? And again, you might add a page, you might be working on it, it might not be approved, or you might not be quite happy with it, and you don't want it active just yet. It gives you the option to turn pages on and off without having to delete them. The next section here, parent, where this page will appear in the site. So sectors, when we look at it here, it's a top level page. Along with job, search, candidates, it sits right at the top. Underneath it we have property, construction, engineering, financial services as child pages. So sectors sits at the top, it doesn't have a parent. But if it did, we can see all the different pages that are in the site here. I could actually move that site now by changing it from not having a parent to having a parent. If I wanted to put it under job search, for example, I could do that here, instead of doing the reordering on the pages section. Underneath we have the URL. So this reflects the label, the navigation term, the name of the page. When you're adding a page, this URL is generated automatically based on what you call the page, but you do have the ability to override it if for whatever reason you wanted to do that. If you wanted a shorter URL, or you wanted to optimize it and have keywords in there, whatever it was, you have the option to click in. It gives you a warning about it to make sure you realize what you're doing, but you do have the ability to change it. Then underneath we have SEO controls. You can use the default website settings if you're not engaged in an SEO campaign, or you're taking shortcuts for whatever reason, or you can have a custom setting for every page, which is really best practice, what you should be doing. So if you choose to do that, you have the option to put in a meta title, and we recommend how many characters you should have. We also have a meta description. Again, we recommend how many characters you should have. And a neat little feature is, if I go in here and I start typing, you can see as soon as I've gone past it, it goes red, so I realise I've gone past the limit, and it counts down how many characters I'm using. It does the same for the meta title up here. Also, we have the option to add in keywords. Google stopped indexing meta keywords several years ago, but we still include it because it can be useful from an admin perspective if you are optimizing this page, let's say for example for recruitment, property recruitment for argument's sake. You could just make a record of that and have it in there. It's not going to do any harm to have keywords listed. Now underneath that there's some of the options for advanced-ish SEO things. So the option to not index this page, which tells Google not to include this in its search results. We also have the option if you have duplicate content. So with this site, for example, they are across 5 different global regions. So some content is duplicated across from region to region. And in that case, rather than potentially have a duplicate content issue with Google, you can reference the original version of the page that you've copied, which is best practice from an SEO perspective. Also have the option, if it's in another language, to reference that. So if you've got an exact same copy of one page in English and in German, then that can be controlled in here. And then meta image. We have the option here to set a specific image that you want to be used if someone was going to share or post this page on social media. If you were doing it on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, they will look for specific metadata for images, and if you've set one, it will use it when someone shares or links to this page. And then lastly, underneath all of the SEO controls, we have access control. So for Cobalt, they let their users register with the site so they can log in. And what that means is they can have a history of their applications, they can save their CV, all of that stuff. So some content is secure, i.e. you have to log in to access it. So what this section does here is sets the access control of the page. So the page that we're on now is set to be public. But if, for example, I wanted it to be a part of the candidate's login area, I could select that you have to be logged in to access it. So that's just a little bit of control on some of the more advanced sites that require this additional functionality within sCMS. If we go back to the Pages section, what we'll do now is I'll show you the news and blog. Most sites these days have a news and or blog section. So if I expand this, we can see the last 10 blog posts. Fairly straightforward and easy to understand. Now, like lots of sites, they build up lots of blogs. So you can see here we're showing 1 to 10 out of 143 results. What we don't want is a massive list of hundreds, if not thousands, of blog posts. So we use a paginated list. You can see here we can scroll through to see the different pages. We can also type in here to search for a specific blog post if we want to find a specific one. Then we have familiar icons over here on the right to view the blog post, to edit the revisions and delete. If I was going to add a new blog post, we'll do that now. We can see here there is an add icon up here in line with items. If I went here in line with news and blog and I used the add page icon there, it would actually add a normal page that would sit under news and blog. So actually what I want to do is add a blog post. So I'm going to click here in line with items. So we'll add a blog post to this list. So fairly familiar interface here. We have the header image again, which is hidden. So we have the option to add an image to the blog if we want to. We have a headline, straightforward. We have a summary, a short summary, 10 to 15 words, for example, just summarizing the post. And then we have a published date. So this lets us publish posts in the past. So we can go back and choose any date we like, but also we can schedule posts for whenever we want. So next week, for example. This site just lets you choose the date. We have other versions of sCMS for other clients where you can specifically choose the exact time as well as the date. So if you were going to be working on content marketing, you could schedule in your month's blog posts in advance. It's quite a nice feature. Then below we have the option to have it active or not, to show images in the news list pages or not, and then the blog is categorized, so we can select what category we want this to go in. So accounting, for example. Then we can choose who's the author of the post. So I'm logged in, so it's by default it's picking me, but if I wanted to post a blog on behalf of someone else, my boss, for example, I could choose that user from the list and it would publish it on their behalf. The URL, the path for the page, is generated automatically. So if I write in here in the headline, this is a test post, and we come down, you can see this is a test post has been added as the URL, all lowercase, with hyphens, not spaces, so it's a proper URL path for the page. Now I can go in and I can edit this if I want. For SEO purposes, for example, I take out is and a and just have this test post. Down here I can add an image, and again I get the option to browse what's in the files already, any of these images, or upload a new one. And of course I have the option to add the alt description. Now, because this is an empty blog post, it's not been published, there aren't any comments, but you can see the comment section here. Once this was published, if I have comments allowed on my blog post and someone does submit a comment, there'll be a notification to the site owner who can come here and see them listed. They can see any that are pending that need approving, any that have been approved, any that have been rejected, or any that have been flagged up as spam. That is adding a blog post. We have the SEO controls over here, of course, so we can have them as custom. So we set the custom meta title and description and all the other options that we saw earlier. That is how you add and manage blog posts. So just a couple of other quick things, because I appreciate this is going on for a while. There's a settings section which covers off users, different categories, products, backups of the website and the database, payments if you have them, notifications section, so what happens when someone applies for a job, what happens when someone fills in your contact form, that's all set in there. We've got basic settings on this page, analytics code, the option to paste in other code if, for example, you wanted to use other third-party tracking scripts, whatever it is, you can add them in here yourself rather than having to come to us. The default email address, whether comments are enabled or not, all standard settings. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll just have a look at the data. So just quickly, data is any information that the website is capturing from users, so be it through a form, through a poll, through a payment, jobs or mailing lists are all held in here. So if we look just quickly, what happens is if someone uses a contact us page, for example, we'll send an email notification to the site owner with all of the details of the contact form, but all the data is saved in the back end. So we can search for it, we can filter it, we can change it by what form they've used, the date, and we can export it to an XLS or a CSV file, which is useful for third-party marketing, for whatever other systems you want to integrate with. So that is an overview of sCMS. I hope you agree that you think it's straightforward, it's easy to use. We have a lot of clients running this software and this system. We do a lot of training with all new clients, and the feedback that we get is great, and it's easy, unintimidating, simple piece of software to manage your website. But of course we're here to support and maintain any sites should our clients need our help with anything. Hopefully this is a good overview. If you have any questions, please get in touch.